Well, we're at the top of the hour, so let's get started. Reid, what do you think?
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Hi, folks. Thanks for joining. My name is Whaley. I'm one of the co-founders here of Teal. With me, I have Reid Johnston, who's our CTO, CIO, and has a lot of other titles. And we're here for our monthly Microsoft tips and tricks.
That's right.
We'll keep the other titles to ourselves for now, but you'll release them as they become apparent. Um, So, if you recall, if you were on with us last month, Reid, you were obviously. We said we would do this month as questions and answers. So, when our crack marketing team, Brittany and Haley and Caden, were advertising this, they took some questions, and Caden sent over a bunch of questions on Microsoft 365 generally. And unfortunately, there's way too many questions to get to. So, we previewed some of them, and Reid and I came up with 4 or 5 that we can get to in 20 minutes or less. That are probably we thought were pretty cool questions. So we'll start with those. If you have some questions during our segment today, please feel free to put them in, and we'll try to get to them. If not, we'll add them to next month, or we'll get back to you. But let's get started, Reid. First question, which is very exciting, was just released, I think, at Ignite, but you can verify that, is about Copilot licensing.
Yeah, so Microsoft's Ignite conference that they have every year, this year was all about AI. There were like every other thing was all about AI, and they released some pretty good updates to Copilot, which is their AI solution for small business and also large business. But for our clients and really for the companies that we're working with, the big news here is the Microsoft 365 Copilot Business license that is available now. So prior to December 1st, you could purchase Copilot for $30 per month, minimum one license, annual commitment, and you could add that for as many users as you want. I think Microsoft has seen some issues with Copilot adoption. If you can read articles about that, and Microsoft 365 Copilot Business is their new license that is targeted at businesses that have under 300 users. So under 300 users, it's a lower price. It's $21 per month instead of $30 per month. And it has all of the same features as that $30 license. So this is the big thing. Related, and I don't have all the other images, but related is they've built some bundles now where if you have Microsoft 365 Business Premium, which is typically the license that we recommend for most business users, now there's a bundle with Microsoft 365 Copilot for Business so that you get some additional savings if you purchase the bundle before, I think it's March of 2026. So this is the big news that's out now. So wanted to share that.
Yeah, this is big news, and also sometimes a preventative for small business. When we go out and we're doing our lunch and learn on Copilot, it's always one of the first questions that's asked is what's the cost? And when you see $30 per month, you see frowns go on people's faces. So
Yeah.
this is exciting, and I think was one of the first things they announced.
Yep. And I always remind people, and it's right here, it's the first tile. Copilot chat is free. You already have that. Everybody already has that. There's limitations with Copilot chat. You can access some of your data by attaching a file to the chat that you've started, and it can browse the internet as well, but it can't integrate with all of your other apps. That's why you need that $30 or now $21 per month license.
So, Reid, did we just get a $7 savings or a $9 savings for like myself and Caden and Brittany?
So if you already have $30 licenses on that annual commit, you have to wait until that period is over. But for new licenses, so as we
Okay.
add more
Okay.
people having Copilot in our organization, we'll be able to take advantage of that better pricing.
All right. So we were very excited about Copilot, so we added it for people. So we'll just have to wait till that agreement runs out, and then we can get the lower price.
Yep.
All
So
right.
that's
Well,
the
that's
first one.
fantastic news. Let's move on to the next question. And this is something that when you do your lunch and learns on Copilot, it's the first thing you talk about. But somebody asked, is Copilot safe with our data? Will prompts responses leak outside the tenant?
Right. So Microsoft has a nice graphic here that describes kind of the flow of when you're interacting with Copilot, what it's doing, and where that data goes. So we always advocate for using Copilot over other solutions like ChatGPT or Gemini or others, because anything that you put into Copilot stays inside of your Microsoft tenant. It's not commingled with other tenants. It's not commingled with Microsoft for training their model. It all stays inside of this trust boundary. So there's a lot of stuff that happens when you're using an app or chat to interact with Copilot. It's sending that message in, it's going into the Microsoft graph where it's getting some additional grounding and context, and then it's sending that prompt to the large language model, which stays within your tenant. So again, this is the whole reason why we're such proponents of Copilot, because Microsoft has done such a great job of setting up that trust boundary for your data. It's not commingled.
Yeah, just to be clear though, when we're making that recommendation, it's to our clients that are in M365.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you're in Google, Google Gemini is an awesome solution, right? And if you're paying Google for Google Workspace, you've got business accounts, you've got all the configuration set up, that's a great solution as well. What I advocate against is signing up for any and every AI solution and then putting your data into it. Because if it's free, the price is your data.
Yeah, and that's something, if you look at our Copilot webinars, they're on our website, but also if you come to one of our lunch and learns, it's one of the things that Reid spends a good 5 to 10 minutes talking about. Step one is understanding your data and then securing it before you deploy any kind of AI. Great. Thanks for that, Reid. Let's move on. This is one that came in, and I've always wondered this too since the beginning of Teams. And that the question was, what's the difference between Teams external access, guest access, and shared access?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a great question. So I think Microsoft has done a much better job with recent updates where when you're in a Teams meeting and you're doing video, kind of like we're doing here, there's that chat window that you can open up, right? And when you see the chat messages, now next to people's names, there's better tags that help identify, is this someone from my organization? Is this someone from outside of the organization? Um, that really helps when I'm in a meeting. When I'm not in a meeting, when I'm in a team like this, one of the really powerful features of Teams is to be able to involve people both outside of the immediate group that's part of this team, as well as involve people that are outside of your organization. So the way that Microsoft does this is by having guest access and shared channels. There's also private channels. So I thought we'd take a couple of minutes and talk about some of the differences and what that looks like. So
Great.
I'm here in Teams, and I've created this test team just called Test One. And if I go into the Teams options here, and I can manage my team, and I can select members. So you can see right now I'm the owner of the team, and I don't have any members. But if I wanted to add you to this team, I could simply type in your name, and it'll find you in my internal directory, and then I can add you. Now, when I add you as a member of the team, you have access to chatting in this channel, and you'll get a pop-up on your screen and you can join. You don't have to do anything now, but you'll be able to chat. If there's other channels that I've created, you'll have access to those unless they're private, and I'll get into that in a minute. But you'll also have access to files. That's a powerful feature of Teams. Now I've got a workspace where I can collaborate on different files and documents. You can also have access to all of these tabs at the top and other applications that I might have integrated into this team, like Whiteboard or Word or Excel or whatever. So think of uh, members as having the most access. The next kind of tier is shared channels. And a shared channel is something that allows me to invite someone both from my organization or an outsider outside of my organization to communicate just here in this channel. And if you can see, if I go into shared channel and manage channel, I have the ability now to add different members here. So I've added my demo user, which is not part of this team, but because Gar is now a member of this team, he has access too. But demo user is someone else in my organization. And if I wanted to add someone outside of my organization, I could do that too. I have to have some backend setup on my Microsoft tenant to allow that to happen because there's some security and some trust that has to happen there. So shared channels are great because it allows me to have outside users jump in and chat with me and access those messages easily. The next tier is guests. And you can see if I go back to my home channel, I can go, I'll manage this channel, or I'm sorry, I'm going to go up to my team. I'm going to manage this team. I can go into members and I can add guests. Now, when I add a guest, so I could say I have to have the user has to have some access to my tenant. I could say Mark Jennings. I think I might be able to add him. So he's a gentleman that we work with, have some great collaboration with him. I've created an account for him in our Microsoft tenant, and this allows him to join this team, but he has to go up in the upper right corner of his teams and he has to kind of switch to one of these other environments. So when you invite an external user as a guest, it's a little bit cumbersome for that external user. It takes them out of their environment, it flips them into your environment. But those guest users have access to all of the same stuff. They've got access to the chats, the files, and so on. So guest users are more of a full feature, more of a full access, and shared channels are more of a limited access where it just shows up in your list. If I invited Mark here to this shared channel, it would show up in his teams and he's not going back and forth and flipping.
Okay, so
So
that's why I said this is a little bit of a complicated but good
yeah,
question. So a couple follow-on questions for that. For both shared channels with guest or external for guest or external access, can the standard user do that? Or do they need to talk to their IT team or their IT partner like us in order to allow that?
so the they should be able to add members as
Hmm?
long as they are an owner of that team. So
But can they add external members?
they should be able to do that if the security is set accordingly. Yeah,
But the security is set,
by the
the,
IT partner in many
right.
cases.
I guess what I'm asking is does the default security allow that? Do you know?
Out of the box, I would say no. The
Okay,
default does not allow external participants to join.
so to be set up, because typically the people that are going to be watching this are not IT admins, they're
Correct. Yeah.
users. So to be set up to share outside of your organization, they're going to have to ask their IT partner like us or their internal IT
Yeah.
person to get that set up, and then they can do it.
Yeah, and what I always suggest is try it. So when you try to add a member, if I say reidjohnston@gmail.com, if I try to add this member and it says it can't find any matches, it doesn't work, well then you got to talk to your IT support partner to make this user a guest in our tenant to allow that access. So I always say try it first, try it first. If it works, great. But setting up that external sharing is often something that involves your partner.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, that's a good one. That took a little bit of time, so I think we had one more that we wanted to get to, and it is about I don't know if you can show something, but maybe you can. It's Windows 365 versus Azure Virtual Desktop. So virtual desktops is really the question. What's the difference? How do we decide which one to use? What
Yeah.
comments do you have on virtual desktops?
So we recommend virtual desktops, which are, think of a virtual computer that lives in the cloud. If you're using personal equipment and you want to access your sensitive corporate data, there's a lot of work that might have to be done to secure that personal equipment. And the easy button is just to remote into that virtual desktop that lives in the cloud. So Microsoft has an implementation of this called Cloud PCs, Windows 365 Cloud PC. And this is an additional license that you can add to any of your users that basically gives them the ability, like they can open any other applications from their browser, they can select the Windows app and open their cloud PC. And what it will do is it'll use your browser to connect to your cloud PC. So I'll try to sign in. Take a second here. Now we use Duo multi-factor authentication, so that prompts as well. So I get a prompt on my mobile device for that, and I have to allow that. I'll enroll later. So it's signing in. And now I have a secure environment that is, it looks sort of like my PC, but this lives in the cloud. And I can get to this from any device. Could be a Mac, could be a Google Chromebook, could be my iPad. And I have access to all of my sensitive data that lives in my Microsoft tenant. And I don't have to worry about the security of that physical device. So that's the value. You're creating this secure environment that's easy. I turned this on this morning in 5 minutes and it was ready. So the use case is maybe my computer crashes, my physical computer crashes. Company's going to send me a replacement. It's going to take at least a day or two. I could connect to this cloud PC from my personal computer at home and have quick access to all of my stuff and stay productive.
Yeah, where I commonly suggest this is to folks, as you said earlier, that their company is using personal machines and they want to secure their company data on a virtual machine in the cloud, so no data can travel between the personal machine and the virtual desktops. Also, it comes into play a lot of times with contractors, right? Where a company might have 1099 contractors that are doing work for many companies, and they want to secure the data for them, so they just give them a virtual desktop. I know we're running out of time, and this is great. I think reading a little bit more through the question, just to drill down a little bit between the differences between Cloud PC and Azure Virtual Desktop.
Yeah.
Maybe one to many versus 24/7 usage, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So typically we're going to use Azure Virtual Desktop when we have some scaling that has to happen in a pretty rapid basis. It's a much more complicated environment, but it allows you to very finely tune exactly what your needs are. Windows 365 Cloud PC is just a simple checkbox of a license, and it turns on right away, and you've got access right away. So for many of our clients that just need that contractor to have access quickly, or maybe have a computer that failed and need access, that's the easy button. But if you're trying to build out a really advanced environment, maybe you're doing CAD work in the cloud, maybe you've got additional security requirements, that's where you'd use the AVD environment. And we can help with that too.
Yeah, and that's probably a good segue to a conclusion here because we're just about out of time. Thanks for the questions that you put in. We'll try to get those answered on the next one or shoot you an email. But that's a pretty complicated topic and maybe deserves a much longer tips and tricks. I don't even know if that's a tips and tricks, the difference between cloud PC and virtual desktops. It gets pretty technical. But the point where I think Reid was trying to make is that cloud PC is relatively simple and a good way to get around some common issues. Anyways, Reid, thanks for answering those questions. We
For
have like
sure.
12 more that came in, but we'll try to sprinkle them in our next tips and tricks. So please feel free to join us for the next one next month. And we also have a Copilot one coming up in 2 weeks.
Right.
If anybody has any questions, Britt and Caden will shoot up an email address here in a moment that you can email us with questions. Thanks for joining and have a great day.
Thanks a lot. See you later.